so-called Negro community has shocked the white man by resisting all efforts to divide us. I think that you and I should continue to shock him by staying and working together in unity, despite religious, political, economic, or educational or social differences.
My people are terrified. We've been terrorized to the point that we're mentally and spiritually paralyzed. We suffered through centuries of dehumanization and degradation. It took the form of slavery and segregation in this land of the free, where oppression's government sanctioned. We're subjected to systemic skin color discrimination, from black codes to Jim Crow to black criminalization. It's been 400 years, it's time for our liberation. We're a nation within a nation, victims of colonization. Where's our revolution and Independence Day celebration? Cause what's the 4th of July to the slave on the plantation? And slavery didn't end, they just changed its implementation. Just check the 13th Amendment, then you'll see why so many black males end up as guilty defendants. The system isn't broken, it's working as it's intended. So I'm not here to fix it, I'm here to end it.
And then again, if we tell you that Negroes are being hung on the tree or being shot down illegally, unjustly, and those Negroes should do something to protect themselves, you say you're advocating violence.
I won't rest till this nightmare we're living in ends, and we see justice for our murdered young innocent men. If black lives really matter, black people need the proof. Cause we are the only ones responsible for our improvement. How can we leave it to someone else to do what's best for us, especially when there's someone else has historically been oppressing us? We can't use a system built to enslave us to free us, and we really sick if we think that they white Jesus can heal us. Our children need us to defend them, teach them and guide them, show them love and bring out the greatness that is deep inside them. Are we gonna build a nation or stay on the plantation? Keep begging for our freedom or fight for our liberation?
When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, he didn't say get nonviolent. He said praise the Lord, but pass the ammunition.
We must be willing to die together, or we'll definitely die separately. We desperately need unity if liberation is our destiny. If we don't know our history, then we doomed to repeat it. White supremacy is the enemy, but together we can defeat it. They stole us from the motherland, sold us into slavery, forced us to work for them. They got the nerve to call us lazy. In this caste system, we're outcasts, still treated as second class. But I can feel it in the air, revolutions in the forecast. We came for greatness, but they don't want us to know. So they hid our history to keep us under control. All it takes is to take a stand. The enemy's not invincible, but we must come together as one nation indivisible.
20 million black people don't even know their own language. Why? Because he took it away from them. 20 million black people who don't even know the history of their ancestors. Why? Because he took it away from them. And if you're trying to tell them how thoroughly and completely they've been robbed, he says you're teaching hate. That's something to think about. Today you are coming out of college. You're coming out of the leading university. You're trying to go in a good direction, but you don't know which direction to go in.
Back in Jamaica, jazz and soul started to become a big influence in their music, and with that came R&B from the US.
At the time it was rhythm and blues. Well, Jamaica plays most American stations. They couldn't pick up English station because we're near America. So all the music we're hearing all the time was always American music.
This is because following World War II, many Jamaicans regularly travelled into southern states of the US on seasonal farm work. This is where they encountered Americans holding block parties playing jazz, soul and R&B from speaker boxes. Jamaicans living in the ghettos of Kingston would have financially found it difficult to obtain new music or see any live gigs at the time. Due to the demand and the lack of live music, three gentlemen took the initiative to supply and play recorded music to parties and dance halls in downtown Kingston. Count Goody, Count Nicholas and Tom Wong. Tom Wong was a hardware store owner. He would take the music and the equipment to play music at block parties every Friday and Saturday. The crowd loved him, giving him his name.
And calling Tom, wow, you're a great man, and clapping him. So my friend just called him and said, you're a great man. I went to call the great Sebastian, and that name falls on him from that night.
This would become the start of a whole new subculture within the music world, beginning in Jamaica, thus bringing the community together. One day, Tom's car needed a tire change, and luckily a guy called Shine Shoes Vinny was there to help. With his assistance, Tom gave this gentleman the opportunity to become the selector, the specialist in choosing what tracks to play. His name was Vincent Forbes, also known as Duke Vin, as he would operate the first sound system in the UK.
You know, they could buy more American records, and they bring the blues from America because they had the opportunity to travel. Duke Reid was a wealthy man, and Coxsone was a young furniture builder who went to farm work and start getting US dollars, Yankee dollars, so he could buy his record and come home and support his sound system. So they started to get popular and promoting the American blues, you know, with Roscoe Garden and Lester Williams and Smiley Lewis, Louis Jordan and a few others, you know.
Coxsone went to American farm work, and he came back and he started the sound business. Duke Reid used to be in selling booze. That's how he started.
When I used to listen to Coxsone and Duke Reid, they used to have two dance halls in Kingston, Foresters Hall and Kingsland, facing each other. Coxsone would be on one side, Duke Reid would be on side, and 1 million people out in the street, fighting for getting, you know, and it's all rhythm and blues.
Coxsone used to go over there and buys the record, and then he brings them back. He scratch out all the labels, so you would know who sings it. You couldn't buy it. There was no up-and-coming local artist. There was no Jamaican music at the time. Few little calypso thing, but all the record was North America.
When West Indians came to Britain, not surprisingly, they wanted to bring that tradition of blues parties with them. Count Suckle was one of the first DJs or soundmen to organise such functions in London.
Well, I actually started the blues party myself in the 50s. Me and another fella named Duke Vin and a guy named Clarence.
From coast to coast, the sound of now.
We come with 2 speakers and with little 45 records in the hand, and we make the best of your wedding and your birthday, anything in your house, and we enjoy. You'd got about 50 blues dance in the basement, Battersea, Stoke-Nit, and you'd find one in Ladbroke Grove, you'd find 3. I remember you could go on Summer Leighton Road on a Saturday night and find 8 blues dance on each side of the street.
From the start, there were problems. The open-air blues dances of the West Indies, where people had the space to let off steam, didn't translate easily to London's residential streets.
In the West Indies, we had what we had, but in England, we came into something that somebody else had. The structure of the houses are different, and this, neighbor-to-neighbor relationships are...
So family, those of you, especially who are foundational Black Americans, we all see the attempted hijacking and culture vulturing that has been going on and the blatant disrespect about a part of our culture, which is hip hop. Every week we damn near see somebody that's Caribbean or somebody that's Hispanic hopping up, particularly Puerto Ricans, hopping up talking about we got hip hop from them, or as you're gonna hear in this, they claim it was a 50-50 creation. See, before I get into the meat and potatoes of this discussion, a part of this is our fault because we accept people to a greater degree than they ever accept us in their culture. That's a part of, as Dr. John Henry Clarke has stated about us, our beautiful humanity, but it's worked against us to our detriment. And now we're having to clean this up because it must be cleaned up. It is bigger than just arguing over music. This is about our culture as a whole. And we are going to have to clean it up and protect it. Because if we don't, if nobody tells the truth, and shout out to my brother Tariq Nasheed, my brother Dewan B, they're going to get this documentary out here and tell the whole truth about the origins and creation of not only just hip hop, but Black American music, period. We're going to get this thing straightened out because, see, one of the themes that I'm seeing that's recurring over and over again when it comes to this issue, those like Fat Punk here, Fat Ho, Fat Joe, Sloppy Joe, whatever you want to call him, and Busta Rhymes, he needs to put the ER on there because it's not Buster with an A, it's Buster ER. They want to tell us that participation is equivalent to creation. Simply put, if something was going on before you knew anything about it, and then when you started coming around it or discovered it, you participated in it, you had no hand in creating it. Zero, none. I'm going to say this flat out before we get into this. Every one of these other non-foundational Black American rappers, especially the Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Hispanics, whatever you want to call them, you cosplaying at what you think being Black is. All around the world, the Asians, all of them, every one of them, every group around the world trying to imitate what we do, you cosplaying at what you think being a Black person is through the music. There are plenty of examples of that. It's the same thing as when a white person tries to emulate talking Ebonics when they come around us. I've always considered that the same thing, but you know what? Let's get into this. We're gonna break this down.
Talking about Latinos wasn't it rap and this. These guys are fucking delusional. We're from the Bronx, New York. Shit happens.
First of all, nobody said that Latinos wasn't in rap. What we are saying is you participated, but you didn't create. Let's get that straight out the gate.
It's so when hip hop started, it's Latino and Black half and half.
That's a lie. Because if it was Latino and Black half and half, like you say, we've got documented footage and evidence of the first pioneers who were foundational Black Americans starting hip hop. Not just in New York, but everywhere in the country. We've got that on film. From the first rhymers to the first breakdancers, we can prove that. When you ask these people, show us who the pioneers were, since you're saying half and half. See, if you're going to say half and half, that means that for every foundational Black American MC or dancer, there was a Puerto Rican right there, or a Cuban or whatever Hispanic person right there next to him. It's just something that was always there. It was both of us. You can't show us that. You are Johnny come latelys. You were imitating what you saw us doing, and you were even hating on it before that. But I'm going to let him continue.
But they going at me because I'm like the only Spanish dude, like really with a big voice. Fuck that. And Latinos wasn't there. You was invited. You are a specimen. I don't know. What the fuck is up?
You were invited. You see, this is the part right here. This is the big part of why we keep telling y'all to stop that black and brown bullshit. Because first of all, who the brown people, like this clown right here, he's Puerto Rican and Cuban. And with his skin complexion in this country, I guarantee you look at his paperwork, he classified as white. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. Further expanding on that, the ones of them that look like him with his skin complexion, they don't call themselves black here. It's the darker skinned ones that don't have no choice that will sometimes claim their blackness. But let's be clear, some of them could be darker than any of us and will be trying to claim Caucasian on their paperwork. Some of these people like him think we're stupid because, see, this entitlement, not understanding that you are a guest in our culture, which you never should have belonged in the first place. See, I'm not just talking about Fat Joe or Busta Rhymes. I'm extending it to the DJ Vlads and all the rest of them. Adam 21, I don't care who it is. You don't belong here. Eminem, you didn't belong here. Vanilla Ice, I don't care. You didn't belong here. Now, why am I saying that? I'm saying it because show me the equivalent acceptance in the Asian culture, white culture, what little culture they have stolen from people, Hispanic culture, Caribbean culture, and continental African culture, where they just accept us in the way we accept them. See, sometimes when you have a house guest and they come over to your place repeatedly, they start to get a little too comfortable. And then to the point that they start disrespecting you in your own house if you sit there and tolerate it. That's what has been going on with the greater majority of our culture. But let's let this clown finish.
But these people, they don't know their facts. And so out of nowhere this morning, somebody sent it to Tony Sunshine, he sent it to me. I got a little video I posted. And it's only a few Latinos in hip-hop. We got the drum beat going, and this talks about Charlie Chase and Ruby P and Whitney Witt and this. These are all...
See, that's why he paused right there, because this man isn't stupid. And he just now started saying, him and Busta Rhymes, they just now started doing this because I got to give credit where credit is due. A lot of brothers and sisters are pointing this out. A lot of the pioneers of hip hop, the originators and founders of it, they have either passed away or are about to pass away. So people like this are relying on the younger generation of us not to know our history. They're relying on younger foundational Black Americans in specific, and really just even their own people on not knowing that you weren't the creator or originator of a damn thing. You were a participator at best. Culture vultures at the most. See, I'm going to tell y'all something, man, about this clown in particular. Where I'm from, down here in the South, in Georgia, you can't find one person that was like, oh my God, boy, I can't wait to hear that new Fat Joe album. Nobody was fucking with him. Now, I'll tell you who we did respect as far as a talented lyricist, Big Pun. Now, I will not take anything away from him. He was a very talented lyricist. I mean, he was light years beyond Fat Joe. He really was. I give credit to those that show respect to our culture and know their places. But when you start jumping up here telling these lies like you telling, nah, we're going to have to check you every time on that. But see, we're gonna get into some more facts before this is over with. I want y'all to get ready to hear what some of the people that were around when his career started up there in New York were saying about him. We're going to get into that next.
Oh, please pass it. Just give him the business. I remember, this is crazy, when Fat Joe got booed off of the Good Life stage.
Fat Joe got up on stage and he was like, yo, I don't need no beat. So we're like, oh.
Everybody knew who he was. He gave him his props, let him get up there. But in the game, once he started flowing, he couldn't run without cussing.
Because he had a record out, he thought that he was one of the best rappers in the world. But we actually knew we were some of the best rappers in the world. And he came and did like a not so up to par lyrical acapella. Please pass the money. Like this is an artist on a label. We don't care.
Check this out. Is LA in the house? Hey, yo. Come on, man. We're just gonna kick something up acapella because no cursing ain't really my style. So check this out. Everybody knows I'm not the one. I murder MCs on my spare time just for fun. So nigga, come and take mine. You're only one step closer for getting bust with the damn 9. Fat Joe, you know the flavor's real. Every time I grab that Glock, I flip the script and get ill. Alright, cool.
Barry, hold up.
I sense jealousy in the house, face.
criticism to all upcoming artists and is subject to everybody. So now, before we get into the next part of this, where our brother Star here, who's quite controversial at times, but I give credit where credit is due when anybody tells the truth. You heard what they just said about Fat Joe's talent. I've listened to some of his stuff over the years, and he's mediocre at best. And you know why? You know why? Because, see, whether it's him or any of these other groups around the world that imitate hip-hop culture, the first thing that they do before they even pick up any type of microphone, they try to imitate and cosplay what they think being a black person in America is about. So this usually starts out with music and movies. So you basically got somebody trying to put on a costume, so to speak. That's why I say cosplaying. So that's why he couldn't get into any rhymes without cursing, because everything that he grew up that he thinks being a black person is has cursing in it. You take Fat Joe and put him up against any foundational black American lyricist and they would tear him to shreds. Period. Name one song. Even when you name songs, the one where he had Lean Back, okay? The one where he was on, I think he was on All the Way Up. It's like he'll have a hit and miss spot and usually have to be somebody else on there with him to carry his ass. The dude has no talent. Nobody, I guarantee you, nobody down here was like, boy, Fat Joe is one of my favorite rappers of all time. I'll tell you who we did respect down here in the South, particularly Georgia. Wu-Tang Clan got a lot of respect down here and still does, okay? You had brothers down here listening to Tupac, of course. Even our brother Biggie, even though he's not a foundational black American, our brother Biggie. Okay, now that was a brother that had lyrical talent. All right. I want y'all to tell me right now, and I'm laughing as I'm even thinking about it. Could you imagine Fat Joe trying to battle rap against Biggie Smalls if they ever had that opportunity to do that? That would be a wash, man. It's goofy clown, but we're going to let our brother Star here break this down. Now, I want y'all to pay attention to what's being said here in this interview, because they said, I think this was Crazy Legs, the breakdancer that called in, okay? I think this was him on this call, but I want y'all to pay close attention to what's being said here, and we're going to break this down.
So black, like, so to me, it's like, yo, it's just all one big family. Why are we beefing over this shit when we should be rocking with each other and say, yo, we grew up in a bad situation, and we got along better than anyone else in the city. The same pain that they went through was the same pain that we went through when we got beat down up by the police.
Pause, stop. This is something that needs to be addressed, and I'm going to say it, and y'all can take it how you want to take it, but I got to go here. Everybody keep talking about black folks and Puerto Ricans got along so good in the Bronx, New York, this or that, but see what you keep leaving out is, you keep leaving out that many of the Puerto Ricans were just as anti-black as those damn Dominicans up there. That is a fact. The ones that were darker skinned sometimes got along with black folks. But even then, as a collective, those that are lighter skinned, that are classified as white, they couldn't stand, and still can't stand black folks up there today. See, this is the part when you hear people start talking about that, they want to leave that part out. Some of your worst racist police up there in the NYPD are Puerto Rican and Dominican. Y'all bear me witness. Y'all know that's the truth. And see, they always try to do this whole, oh, we was all one big family. We went through the same stuff. Okay. If that's so true, why don't we see any of you Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Cubans, whatever other Hispanics you want to name, and any other group, Asians, okay, East Indian, Arabs, whatever. If that's so true, we all one big family and, oh, we don't need to beef about nothing, why don't we ever see you advocating for anything concerning black causes the way we did to get your asses over here? You don't advocate for us to get reparations. You don't stand up and say anything when we see situations like Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Sandra Bland, the list goes on and on. You don't say nothing about that. Anytime something happened to a black person, where are the Hispanic or Caribbean or whatever politicians speaking out for us? Where they at? Where are the entertainers? the artists, okay, as far as your hip hop artists, the athletes, where's the rest of your community since we are all one big family when there's crisis? See, what this thing is going on now, ladies and gentlemen, with hip hop, we're in a phase where we're finally starting to claim and clean up our culture and own it, okay, and recognizing its importance and actually appreciating it as foundational Black Americans the way we should have always done. And now that people are seeing that, especially these like Fat Joe and Busta Rhymes, now they got a problem with that because they know that once you get on code and you respect yourself and your culture, you are on your way to becoming a well-empowered group. That means nobody's going to be able to take advantage of you because you're going to prioritize your people first and what's important to your people first. And a lot of these people, only thing they can do is ride our coattails. That's why they flee from where they're from and come over here to get up under us. So now when it comes to hip hop, that's kind of like, okay, you have people salad barring the Black experience. If you say anything about being Black in America, the first thing that come up with another group that's not foundational Black American is hip hop, because, oh, that's fun. Oh, that's what you enjoy. But when it's time to stand up for anything for Black people that created the music, they're nowhere to be found. But let's get into this and let them keep talking here.
Can jump in again if I can jump in again. If I can jump in again. I'm not disagreeing with anything you've just said. But to be fair, FBA is a lineage, not a group, not an organization. They're not beefing. They're just standing up and saying, "Hey, we created this." And now that
I don't know who they are.
Okay, I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you. Foundational.
Okay.
Foundational Black Americans. It's a lineage.
Mm-hmm.
They're standing up and saying, "Hey, we created this," and there's nothing wrong with saying that. What Fat Joe has said, we're questioning, hey, wait a minute, because Fat Joe's been on my show in the past. He wasn't saying that years ago. He was not saying what he's saying now. And maybe he didn't mean to say it the way he said it, but at the same time, FBA has a right now.
And let's pause right there. He meant to say it the way he said it because there's two things going on. The white corporate execs that control these record labels are sending these people out here to do this for several reasons. And he actually feels, Fat Joe that is, feels entitled to, hey, I'm supposed to be able to come in your house and do whatever I want. See, let's flip this, right? Imagine a foundational Black American going into any of these other groups' cultures with something that's predominantly and primarily created by their people and being as disrespectful to them as they are to us, and telling them that we created something that we know we didn't create amongst their people. You can't do that in their culture. And it's long overdue for us to show these people that you're not going to do it with our culture neither. That's not going to happen. I'm cool with people from damn near every other nationality and race. But one thing I'm not going to look the other way on is when people from other groups try to disrespect my culture. No, we're going to put you in your place just like you would put us in our place. See, for far too long, a lot of these people have looked at us as like we're supposed to be just the old dog that just roll over and do tricks and we just take anything, no matter how disrespectful they get. That's not going to happen anymore. We're not putting up with that anymore. So I salute the brother Star for stating the facts here and getting this straight with this caller. Because, see, too many of them, not all, but too damn many, enough to say most, have that mindset like a Fat Joe. That's where you get your Cardi B's and your Nicki Minaj's coming in being disrespectful to our people and then thinking that everybody is supposed to be okay. And see, that's another thing. I got to go here. We are in a time period, and I'm speaking primarily to the brothers right now. We're in a time period where all of them going to have to get checked. I don't give a damn how attracted to Cardi B or Nicki Minaj you are, man. Fuck all of that. This is a cultural war, and we can't afford to lose this for many reasons. We got to secure our culture on every goddamn side and every angle. We don't have time to be playing with this because this is a lot bigger than hip hop. We trying to get our reparations. That ties into that. As our brother Tariq stated, all you have to do is just look at this and see how it will bleed over into other things if we sit here and let these people start telling these lies. Because, see, they'll start with saying they was 50-50 creators of hip hop, or just outright saying we got it from them. And then they'll turn around and use the same argument with reparations. in a number of different ways. But yeah, let's let them keep talking here.
The beauty of social media and having the ability to do research and not being at the mercy of ABC, NBC, and just programming, and being able to research and say, hey, wait a minute, no, hip hop didn't come from Jamaica. And if you ask me, no, hip hop came from the South, came out of the funk. James Brown, out of Georgia, and a host of others. You can't convince me that hip hop came from Jamaica or the Caribbean. I mean,
and he's absolutely right, because there's well documented proof that it did not. See, I'm gonna tell y'all something, man. By the time this documentary drop, the story is gonna be straight. The story is gonna be straight around the world. It's gonna be straight once and for all, and it's gonna be up to us to make sure that we preserve everything about our culture going forward. See, let me talk to you young people that are foundational Black Americans, young men and young women. I want you to pay attention to what we're dealing with right now with this hip hop issue. This is a lesson that you better document everything that you create and make sure you have ownership over it. Because if you don't, this is what you will end up having to deal with. It's okay to be exclusive. Do you know why? Because every other group is exclusive to us. We can't be the only group that's inclusive when we're excluded from everything else. We got too many examples of that showing that where we're excluded from other people's culture like that. And we damn sure can't come in and tell them that we created something that we didn't, and they just roll over and go along with it. I want y'all to stop and let that sink in for a minute. Let's let them continue.
They had their own stuff.
Got to the Bronx, went to the club. First of all, it was a place called St. Joseph on Bathgate Avenue. I live like 4 blocks away. And then you have places like Murphy Projects over by the Cross Bronx Expressway. They get parties there once every Friday. First Fridays. And I'm start getting nice here, more Americanized, more hip. And I'm start getting nice here, more Americanized, more hip. And seeing how people reacting, dancing, and literally, I'm picking up the gripes from the audience. I'm out here putting it, and how come you don't have that record? Why you taking it right there before the other part come on? And I'm one of them. So I took that concept from the dancer's perspective behind the turntable. So I'm not behind the turntable trying to make it beat sound like the other beat or keep. No, I'm playing what we want to hear on the dance floor. And however it come in, I can bring it to my best of my ability. So I'm not no DJ. I became a DJ by doing what I was doing. So I'm not no DJ. I became a DJ by doing what I was doing.
Now, did y'all hear DJ Kool Herc say that? See, we'll give him the godfather of hip hop, but not the father of it. He didn't create it. You heard this man out of his own mouth telling you that he was doing what was already going on before he got his hands on things and put his own spin on stuff by playing primarily the break beats and everything. See, when you have documented history of not only people that were around back at the time making statements like this, it's too easy to debunk all these lies that are coming out about hip hop culture today. It's too easy. Let's let this statement finish here.
The host of the party and the dancer that's behind the turntable playing for my dancing friend out there.
So now, everything that you just heard and everything that you just seen in this video, this is a reminder about when you start something and you're the creator and originator of it, you better make sure it's well documented. You better make sure before that you have complete ownership of it. And I'm going to add one other thing. Do not sell what we create. We got to stop selling things. One of the biggest mistakes that Timbaland and Swiss Beats made was to sell verses to them white folks. You couldn't find another black person to sell it to. You wouldn't even want to keep that in your family so you could pass that down to your children for generations. See, the selling out, that gets us in situations like this also. Ownership is how you make sure that you don't have to deal with things like this. And I'm glad that it's happening right now at this time period when we're not having that. Because let's be clear, By the time the dust settles, we're going to shut this shit down. I want y'all to understand that. Those of us that know our history about how hip hop started and everything beyond that, we're going to shut this down. This ain't going nowhere. Mark my words, this is going to be well taken care of, and they ain't going to be able to try it again without being embarrassed. Because, see, one of the things that I don't like seeing, it's one thing if you're in our culture and you show respect for it, but even then we should only have a handful, not a whole bunch of Jack Harlows, a bunch of Post Malones. That's how you get your Tekashi 6ix9ines and all these other goofballs that come in from these other cultures and start disrespecting the culture and then degrading the culture. Now, I'm not saying that we don't have things to clean up within our culture, but what I'm saying is these people come in and they denigrate it to a far worse level than we do. They really do. So now today, most of the music you hear, it doesn't have any soul in it. It doesn't have any positive energy or positive messages in it, like hip hop did in its infancy stages, when it started to come into its own, into maturity, to the point where it was about consciousness and doing positive things. Now you don't even hear any of that anymore. It's a bunch of mush mouth, and the so-called R&B, you can't even call that R&B. You don't hear any real love songs anymore. The things that are an integral culture, an integral part of our culture, have been taken out of our music. On the main radio waves anyway. Now we have our underground artists, and before I wrap this up, I got to shout out to Brother Sage. He's a foundational Black American artist that's doing good music. In fact, I'm gonna put a link to his work here so you all can check this brother out. See, this is the counter to that. In addition to getting the history straight, we support the artists that are foundational Black Americans that are making good music that has substance to it. We need to withdraw all our support from all these disrespectful tethers that like Fat Joe, Busta Rhymes, all of them. I know some of y'all probably like some of their music, but look, understand something. Compare it to the Jewish community. Do you think that they would allow somebody that has disrespected their people, whether they liked them previously to the disrespect or not? Do you think they would keep supporting them after that happened? We've seen several instances of them showing you they don't play that. If you want respect and power amongst our people, we're going to have to adopt that same mindset. And I just said the Jewish community, for example, but there's several other communities you can't do that with. Go and try to disrespect Asian people with something germane and essential to their culture. See what happened to you. Even these Hispanics that sitting up here telling this lie. Go ahead and try to disrespect them with something that's germane and essential to their culture and see what happened. You ain't going to have nobody amongst them in large numbers stepping out talking about, well, someone was there, they kind of did. No, they're not. They're not going to let you slide with no lie if it's a lie. They're going to tell the truth, and that's exactly what we're going to do. I want those of us to be unapologetic. I want those of us who care about this to be unapologetic and straightening this out. This is no time for trying to go along and get along because you like some of them. What needs to happen is all of those like Fat Joe. See, let me tell y'all something about the power that we have that y'all don't realize. I don't care how many years they have in the game. We could snap our fingers like that and say, hey, you've been delegitimized. You going to disrespect us? We don't respect you at all. Everything you did means nothing. We can do that. Now, y'all might be asking me, how can we do that? I'll tell you how. People in this country, they have to come through black folks to get legitimized and be considered trendy or cool or accepted. If we don't give them that social capital or we remove it, they don't have it. See, a lot of y'all don't realize how much power we actually do have as a people. But I'm going to do everything in my power to remind you and make sure that you understand that. We need all hands on deck with this that have sense enough to recognize what's going on. Because it's going to be some knuckleheads that's still trying to do the black and brown thing and still trying to go along to get along with these lies, because some of them, unfortunately, are sitting up there laying up with these people. You know what I'm saying? Look, when you lack integrity, that's a very dangerous thing if nobody stands up and tells the truth about things. Because people can say and do whatever they want to you when you don't have any integrity. And that's what we're going to need now going forward. Integrity and accurate truth to straighten all these lies out. With that said, I'm going to close it right here. Like, share, subscribe. Black first. And I'll see you all in future.